everyone, we are the Group 2 and we are here to present to you our case study with the title, That's Not My Job. First, let's hear the executive summary of the study. The executive summary. The case study is about the insubordination in the workplace. This concern would be resolved by addressing and correcting the employee's discipline through policies and procedures that will help to handle the employee's behavior. As a result, workplace insubordination will decrease while good conduct and productivity will increase. Now let's proceed with the background. Subordination means defiance of authority, while insubordination is the act of disobeying authority. Insubordination in the workplace is when an employee intentionally refuses to obey lawful and reasonable orders from a person in authority. The person in authority is usually a manager, team leader, or supervisor with powers to give orders and instructions to the employees. According to K.A. Francis, there can be underlying circumstances behind the insubordination and it is wise for an organization to examine the reasons before taking action. There are two, namely stress and the work environment. The stress could be work-related or the stress could be personal in nature. It usually causes a person to be so overwhelmed that he can barely take on more tasks. But with some understanding, coaching, and perhaps an adjustment with the employee's workload, this insubordination can be corrected without severe disciplinary action. Next, the work environment. Intolerable work situations, if allowed to continue, will cause rebellion among employees. The problem can stem from issues with a supervisor or a co-worker or impossible job requirements. Before taking any sort of disciplinary action, it is imperative that the cause of the rebellion be located and corrected, especially if the insubordinate employee has been a valued member of the organization in the past. There are times that people may think that a situation where an employee is insubordinate, but that may not really be the case. Because according to Monkhouse Law, an employment law firm, there are situations that are not insubordinate in the workplace. Here are some. First, the directions were unclear or misunderstood, which resulted in the employee not being able to follow through on the order. Second, the order was outside the scope of the employee's outlined contractual duties. Third, the request was unethical, illegal, or unsafe. And lastly, the order is given by someone who does not have the authority. And additionally, it is not insubordination if the employee misunderstood the order and consequently did not execute it.
Case evaluation. The study focuses on reducing and preventing insubordinate behavior of an employee towards a manager or a person in authority. In the case of Jennifer, a restaurant server, she refused to obey the order of her manager, Carmen, 3 times because her reasons was that it was not her job to do such thing. This study will emphasize what constitutes insubordination, how to prevent it, and how to deal with insubordinate behavior. Understanding what constitutes insubordination and how to address this issue can help leaders to maintain a positive and productive work environment. Proposed solution. In response to employee insubordination, like the case of Jennifer, progressive discipline policy will be used. According to Indiana University Organizational Development, progressive discipline is the process of using increasingly severe steps or measures when an employee fails to correct a problem after being given a reasonable opportunity to do so. The underlying principle of sound progressive discipline is to use the least severe action that you believe is necessary to correct the undesirable situation. According to Susan Heldfield, the primary purpose of progressive discipline is to assist the employee to understand that a performance problem or opportunity for improvement exists. Progressive discipline aims to change unacceptably bad conduct or enhance performance. The purpose is not to punish the employee, but to make the person more aware of the need to address the issue. Here are the common steps for progressive discipline. First, verbal warning. Second, written warning. And last, final course of action. Verbal warning. A verbal warning occurs when a manager or supervisor notifies the employee of the need for improvement. The manager may schedule a one-on-one meeting with the team member to discuss the issue of concern and how the employee can improve their performance. The manager should ensure the employee fully understands the issue discussed, expectation for how to correct the issue, and the manager should maintain written documents of the issue and the conversation for future reference. Written warning. A written warning is when a manager gives employee a notice in writing that their performance has not improved after verbal warning. The written notice includes all pertinent details related to the issue as well as the previous attempt to inform the employee of the need for change. Employers may want to issue a second written warning before moving to a final course of action. Final course of action. The final course of action takes place after all the above steps have been completed and the issue has not been addressed or substantially improved. There are several options of a company may take for a final course of action, and they include suspension of employee with or without pay, transfer of employee to a more suitable role, demotion of employee to a lower responsibility position, and termination of employee's employment contract.
Conclusion and recommendation. The most common instance of workplace insubordination is when manager tells an employee to perform something and the employee refuses. Jennifer falls into this category. Unfortunately, insubordination is unavoidable in the workplace, but there are ways that can be taken to minimize insubordinate behavior. The manager should establish a disciplinary action policy in the workplace. The progressive discipline. This can range from a verbal or written warning to suspension or even termination, depending on the severity of the infraction. Implementing progressive discipline in the workplace can assist supervisors in promoting their work performance standards. When they impose consequences for poor performance, they frequently explain why and how the employee can improve. Now that the employee has a better idea of what to do in the future, they can approach their work more productively. Managers can use progressive discipline to clarify their instructions and avoid making mistakes in the future. Implementation. There are a number of approaches that can be used to establish a progressive discipline policy at work. First, clearly define the steps. Ensure that employees understand the steps that will be taken if disciplinary action is required. When problems arise, begin by conducting an investigation. Before taking disciplinary action against an employee, ensure the fully understanding of the situation and its cause. This may necessitate interviewing other team members. However, for the sake of employee confidentiality, this should be done without revealing the intentions. Also, keep an eye on the employee performance for a few days or weeks to collect the data needed to justify disciplinary action. Third, keep a record of all progressive disciplinary actions. When disciplining an employee, keep written documentation on each step of the progressive discipline approach. Include all relevant information in the documentation, such as what the issue is, when the behavior occurred, when warnings were issued to the employees, and the impact of the issue on productivity. Fourth, in all similar situations, use the same disciplinary actions. It is critical to maintain fairness and consistency in disciplinary actions. If the employee exhibits the same undesirable behaviors, apply the same approach to both of them. Lastly, keep track of the employee's progress on a regular basis. Keep track of the employee's progress after issuing warnings or other disciplinary actions. If they do not improve efficiently, proceed to the next step of progressive discipline.